Hey friends, how's it going? Welcome back. It's been a whole week. I know, kind of crazy, right? Well, I was doing a lot of debating about what to share this week. And I have a couple of options. And one of them arrived after my last video. And I was talking about doing a revisit of the Majestic tabletop radio, which I recently learned is from 1947. So it's not a pre-war radio. Just kidding. Doesn't matter. It's still pre-war looking, that's for sure. It's funny because a lot of radios I've seen that were still up into 1949, some manufacturers still kept making the same style early after the war. But it's still the golden era of radio, so it doesn't really matter. Some people have preferences for pre-war or post-war, and some of those who like pre-war don't like post-war, and some of those who like post-war don't like pre-war. Everyone's different. Their tastes are just, they don't make any sense really. They're kind of arbitrary, really, if you think about it. But anyhow, it's a great gift, and I'm going to dive into that next week because I'll have it out here. I'll have it all prepped, and I'll pull out the chassis and we can look at it together. I think would be fun. Do you agree? I agree. But something came in the mail and I wanted to share this, and this is the confession of a collector who shouldn't be buying another lantern, but I realized the opportunity was presented, and it's one I've wanted for a bit of time, and I've been kind of wanting a special Victor. Now this is a Deitz Victor, and you'll see what makes this one special than the other one I have. Isn't it great? I think it's great. It looks just like your other one, Rob. What are you doing? What are you doing? Well, there are things about this one that the other one doesn't have. Not everything is plainly visible unless you do this. Ha 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 ha, that's right. It's bottom stamped. Now, I wanted a bottom stamp Deitz Victor for a number of years. And I've seen pictures of them posted on the Tubular group, and that is an influence of mine. I know it is as well for many of you out there. And I have a beautiful Deitz Victor. It's this one. This is the early one. This is probably the nicest Deitz Victor I've ever owned. I like this one. It's beautiful. It's got the right patina. It's got a beautiful amethyst tinted globe, manganese. Of course, it's a 98, which is post-period, but it does look good in this frame. Does it not? Does it not look nice in this frame? It looks great in this frame. And it came with this frame. This globe came in this frame. I got it off of eBay in, I want to say late 21. Aircraft. Right on time. Always. But yeah, this came from a small town north of Tucson, Arizona. Or north of Phoenix. Anyways, it came out of Arizona. But it's got that nice preserved desert patina on it, and the amethyst globe. It sat in a window probably, or near sunlight, UV light, whatever, and it tinted a natural slight hue of amethyst. This is going absolutely nowhere. It's one of my favorites. But we're going to look at the differences between the two. This does not have a bottom stamp, as you clearly see. This one does. Which is older? Which is earlier? Well, that's earlier. Only by a small margin. Now we're going to talk about it. About the minute, subtle differences. Now, some of the differences on this aren't shared with other bottom stamp Victors. Now the Victor came around, I want to say 91, 92. I believe that's right around where they came into play. But I can't confirm that because I don't have any catalogs from that era to see when they were introduced. We're talking about 130 years old almost now, right? So, yeah. But it's interesting to see the little differences in the evolution of one particular model of lantern. Why would things evolve? Why would things be added and changed through the production of a lantern from the 1890s through the 1930s? Why? Doesn't it do the same thing? Well, yes, but there's reasons. Now, this version has the lack of a lift lock. What's a lift lock? Okay, so this little lever, this little crank here, is the lift lever, okay? Or the lift wire, it's been known. And this one has no accommodations to keep it in place. See, it just kind of, it's loose, okay? And it can get snagged or bumped or whatever. So this is a little cantankerous. It's not very well thought out. Now, in later generations, they accommodated a bump. They made a bend in the wire guard to clip this against the air tube so it doesn't move, so it locks in place. Enters the later version. See that? You notice that right there? Perfect. And it's nice and tight. It's not moving and flopping around. Now, this is about 1895 to 7, right around there. This one is about 1894. The larger logo came out right before they stopped doing the bottom stamp. So the first design of the bottom stamp can be seen on this Deitz OK. That's the first one, okay? With the little wings, it says ask for. Yeah. And I have a side lift tubular in the house. I should have brought it out here so we can all really look at all the different details, but this is definitely a side lift number O that's just rebranded Victor because it doesn't have the lift lock. So it technically is the same lantern as a number O side lift. But it has the later bottom stamp. Now, some of the collectors out there, they don't really care about the bottom stamp. It doesn't matter because it's going to sit on a shelf and you're not going to see it anyways. Now, if it's hanging up in my garage, and I've been hanging it up there since it arrived and unpacked it. I know I didn't do an unboxing video. I'm sorry, so forgive me, but I was anxious. I couldn't wait till next week. But this one has a brass cone and some other great details. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm talking about bottom stamp. Now, the bottom stamp, some collectors don't care about this because if you're in a moisture-rich area, and if you left a wick in your lantern and you put it away for storage, moisture can collect in your wick, and it will concentrate on the bottom. And moisture will collect in the lower points, the lower portion of that bottom stamp, and create pinholes and rust out your fountain. So that's why they kind of stopped doing it, because that was happening. They also did at the same time offer this bottom part out of copper. For an extra cost, you could order this out of copper, and some people even ordered an entire copper fount. And those are very hard to find. Last year on eBay, there was a SG&L, Steam Gauge and Lantern Company, Victor like this, but it had a copper bottom. And I don't think it was bottom. No, I think it was bottom stamp. I can't remember. It went for a fair price. About the same price I paid for this. I was watching it and I forgot all about it. Anyhow, this is a neat piece. And it's pretty much as it came out of the box. I've done literally nothing to it except for pulling it out of the box. Now, I got this from Lantern Joe. And he runs the group Antique Lantern Collectors page. And he buys and sells lanterns all the time, and he has some very unique and rare special lanterns most of the time. And I can't even touch them. The price wise, it's just too much. I'm not that guy. Champagne taste, beer budget. That's just me. But this was in my price range, and I liked it. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna make an offer. So I did. We came to terms, and he shipped me the lantern, and I'm happy with that. But this is a cool piece, and it's untouched. I haven't done anything to it. Now, I like the generous solder. Look at that solder, how it runs along here and drips down here and drips down here and collects on the skirt. Yeah. Now, some people have said, that's a real sloppy job. That's not a good soldering job. Why would they pass this lantern from inspection? How would it get off the line with that kind of sloppy solder? Well, we're talking the 19th century, and we're talking about a tool. We're talking about a lantern. Originally was bright tin. And when the metal's shiny and bright, kind of like this. This is tin. Now, this is aged tin, but you can see it still has some tin plating on it, this old funnel. But imagine this lantern like that, but brighter without any age to it. You wouldn't see the solder very well. It would blend right in because it's all shiny and new looking, and yeah. But as it ages, the solder doesn't darken as fast as the tin does, or rusts, or patinas. So then it becomes noticeable. But I like this. It's just, they're slapping this stuff together a little bit. They're just putting it together, sweating it all on there, and going to the next one. But this was made 130 plus years ago. Think about it. That's a long time. A long time for an old antique lantern. It really is. Anyhow, bottom stamp. People say, oh, that makes it more valuable. No, not really. It's definitely an interesting point, a detail feature of a earlier example of a Victor or another Deitz lantern. I have other Deitz lanterns that have the same bottom stamp on it. And I actually sold a number 13 that had a bottom stamp, and people are like, what are you doing? Why are you selling that? I'm like, well, I don't burn it. It's no longer important in my collection. I'm not really a dash lantern guy for the most part. I'm really not a dash lantern guy. I don't know what it is. I'm just not. Anyways, somebody else is enjoying it, and I'm glad they have it. Anyhow, this has got some interesting little tiny details. This, of course, has the hinge burner cone, like most. It came unattached, which I will attach it eventually, but this is a brass burner cone. Now look at this. This Victor has this, is this brass? Oh, it is brass. Never mind. I was going to say it wasn't. It's so dark, it's the same, essentially the same color as the frame, but especially in this light, it looks the same. But anyways, I thought it was steel. I'm like, well, that's weird. It's a steel burner cone. That's brass. It's just aged and dark because, I like that. Anyways, there are some differences besides the lack of a bottom stamp and one width. Check this out. Look at this little dimple in here. Look at that. See that? It's inset. It's an innie. That's right. And on this Victor, it's an outie. Check that out. That's a very subtle and minor difference between the two. This one is later. This one's from about 95 to 7 or so, give or take, right around there. Now, you could say, well, what about the patent dates? What about this list of stamped dates on the draft tube? Doesn't that tell you when the lantern was made? Really? No, it does not tell you when the lantern was made. Those are patent dates. That's a list of patents that are applied to different features on the lantern. Now you could see, 1880 whatever, or to 1891, 92, 93. You're like, well, it could fall within that time frame. No. The earliest patents are pertaining to, say, maybe the burner or the fuel spout or the guide wires or some other, or the smoke bell or the square tubes or whatever. It's all pertaining to the elements that make up this lantern. Now, what tells us when this lantern is from is, well, one, the bottom stamp will indicate this is from the early to mid 90s. Now, there haven't been any concrete, definite, timeline when they bottom stamped these lanterns. But most of us collectors understand that it was earlier. And it was around 93 to 95 is kind of the general consensus of when these fall into place. Now, like the Dietz OK has the earlier logo that says Ask For on the side. That is the first generation of bottom stamp, okay? That came out in 93, 4, right around there. And then they went to the larger roundel circle cross logo. And they got rid of the little wings that says Ask For, okay? So I think there was another iteration that had since 1840 on the bottom, or they had that on their crates or something, but I think on the bottom of the lanterns it says Ask For. But anyway, there's always little variations, and it's fun to see the differences in these pieces. Loud traffic out there. But here's another thing that's great about the Deitz lanterns. Look at the manifold. Okay, this here is your manifold that the burner sits in. Okay, this is where the magic happens. So all the air comes down through the tubes and comes to your burner and feeds your burner with air, which on hot blast it's mingled with fresh and pre-combusted air. This manifold here, okay, as we know, on a lot of lanterns, it was soldered, okay? Notice there's no solder. This piece is crimped onto the fount deck. It doesn't come off. It's very hard to remove. So if you were to remove the bottom here, you would see a flange on the inside going around where it was stamped in together and crimped. And that means this is going to stay on the fount deck. Now, we have seen CT Ham lanterns and other manufacturers that soldered the manifold to the deck of the fount. Now, that's a patent date. That's a patent date. There will be a patent date for that design. That's right. Dietz didn't always do that, but they did it kind of early on, by the 90s, I believe. But anyway, great design. It really is. That's one thing I really like about Dietz lanterns is that, because it'll never separate. I've got other CT Ham lanterns that the solder breaks and then you have to resolder it. Or Paul's or other tubular lanterns that have soldered on manifolds. That's a nice design. Very nice design. I like it. Also the guide wires and how they're hooked. This is such a great design because you can remove the globe plate. Others, they're crimped into the globe plate. You can't remove the globe plate and it makes it hard to service. That's why these are so good. I really like Dietz lanterns. I'm not going to lie. I'm a big fan of Dietz lanterns. Now, I'm not purely a Dietz collector by any means. I like other examples, other manufacturers, okay? But I always keep coming back to Dietz because, well, they kind of revolutionized the industry. They've been around for the longest. Even though Chicago, I think, was the first company that actually made tubular lanterns. Because Dietz, even though they go back to 1840, they were making lamps, not tubulars. Tubulars are kind of more of a modern thing, you know, late 1860s, May 4, 1869 to be, you know, accurate. But anyway, this is a cool piece. I'm going to do a very gentle cleaning on this thing. It's going to be getting a very gentle WD-40 scrub. It does need something. I love the look, but it does need a little something, just a little bit. So might look more like this one. Just a little bit. I didn't clean this. This is all original. I've never cleaned this lantern. This is exactly how it came when I bought it off of eBay back 4.5 years ago. But this one could use just a little TLC. Nothing much. But it does burn. Yeah, it works. Shall we light it? There we go. Ta-da! It works. Another airplane. It's an invasion. Oh, yeah, there's oil in this one too. Let's light both of them, huh? Generational gap. There you go. Two antique Dietz lanterns. Yeah. That one's the oldest. This one's the newest. Well, not the newest I own. I have a 98. But yeah, these are cool. These old Deitz Victors. There's just something about these old square tube Victors that are just really nice. I think the single wire guard is elegant. Very elegant. It's not very protective, but it does the job. And it just has a very early primitive look. Doesn't it? Yeah, I think so. So anyway, it's nice stuff. Very nice. Yeah. Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. You will, next time you see this lantern, it will be just a little massaged. Nothing too major. But, and maybe with a proper marked globe. This is not the original globe it came with. It's just a nice dirty replacement globe. But it has nice history, right? It might stick around. We'll see. But I'm going to do just a very subtle, respectful cleanup. I'm not even going to polish the brass. I'm just going to do a little WD-40 scrub just to smooth it out a little bit. That's all. And I'll probably match this a little bit better. But anyway, 1890s, 130-year-old lanterns still doing the job that they set out to do for people that are, well, they've all been gone for a very long time. And here we are collecting these things, keeping them going for future generations, which is kind of fun to think about, isn't it? It is. It's good to enjoy the stuff that we like. Some people put them on shelves and in cabinets and they display them, and that's great. If they get their enjoyment that way, more power to them. But me, I like putting a match to that wick and seeing it do the job that it was designed to do. Kind of like driving an antique car. They're designed to be driven, designed to be seen, you know? Yeah. I agree. Anyway, looking at that little flame, you're looking at life 130 years ago. In the right atmosphere, the right environment, you kind of go back in time for a moment and experience what it was to light your world with tubular lanterns, especially around a campfire. I highly suggest that. All right, friends. Hope you enjoyed this video. I always enjoy making them for you guys and sharing my knowledge and history about these insignificant pieces of history. Mostly overlooked pieces of history, or collectibles as they are. But anyways, thanks again. Keep subscribing, keep liking, and sharing with your friends. Let your friends know why you like lanterns, and maybe they too will gravitate towards this. Because we could always use more people to buy more lanterns, right? No, we don't. Just kidding. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you again in a week's time with the Majestic. Okay? All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Sit, Boo Boo, sit. Good dog.